For a lot of us, Holy Week is this solemn week where we remember events from 2,000 years ago. But what if there's more to it? What if it's actually the final act of a huge cosmic drama? A battle that was prophesied centuries before it ever happened, starring a mysterious king and an enemy that affects every single one of us. So let's dive in and unlock this ancient story together.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to break this story down into 5 main acts. First, we'll identify the true enemy. Then, we'll meet the prophesied king. We'll watch their big confrontation, follow the battle into the darkness, and finally, celebrate the victory of a kingdom that lasts forever.
Every great story needs a great villain, right? But here's the thing. In this drama, the antagonist isn't a person or some evil empire. No, it's something much bigger. It's a fundamental force that has its hooks in God's creation, a power that honestly casts a shadow over all of our lives. To really get a grip on this enemy, we can look at what the theologian Alexander Schmamann says. He calls it Hades. And he's not talking about a place with pitchforks and fire, okay? He means death itself, with a capital D. You have to think of it like a cosmic power, a shadow that just poisons the whole world. This is the enemy that Holy Week is all about confronting.
And this is the crucial point. We're talking about death as a kind of usurper, the prince of this world. This is the very enemy Jesus comes face to face with at the tomb of his friend Lazarus, right before Holy Week kicks off. And he weeps. He's not just crying for his friend. He's weeping because he's staring down the power that is actively destroying his father's world. That raw human grief and divine anger. That's the opening shot of the war.
Okay, so if death is the enemy, who's the hero? Who's our champion? Well, to find him, we have to jump in a time machine and go back centuries before the first Holy Week to this absolutely stunning vision that the prophet Daniel wrote down. In Daniel's vision, he sees right into the divine throne room, and the one in charge, the one presiding over everything, is called the Ancient of Days. This is the God of Israel, acting as the ultimate, supreme judge over all creation. He's the source of all power, all authority. And then someone else walks in. Daniel describes him as one like a son of man. This figure comes right up to the Ancient of Days and is given total dominion and a kingdom that will literally never be destroyed. This is our guy. This is the prophesied champion, the hero of the whole story. And this is where it gets really interesting. This is the core paradox of our hero. On the one hand, he's called like a son of man, which in the Old Testament is a phrase that really hammers home just how human, how fragile and mortal we are. But on the other hand, he's seen riding on the clouds, an image that in the Bible is only ever used for God himself. So he is both human and divine, and that is the absolute key. He's the only kind of champion who could step into our human world of death while still having the divine power to actually defeat it. All right, so we've got our villain, we've got our hero, the stage is set. And the big confrontation kicks off on Palm Sunday, when the prophesied king, Jesus, makes a very deliberate choice to ride into Jerusalem, the symbolic heart of the world and ground zero for the battle. Palm Sunday is this incredibly powerful, kind of two-sided coin. I mean, on one side, it's this huge moment of triumph. The king is finally being cheered on by his people. It's happening! But on the other side, that same path of glory, lined with palm branches, leads straight to Golgotha. The celebration is really just the prologue to the sacrifice. Then, on Holy Thursday, in that quiet upper room, the king starts to lay out the blueprint for his kingdom. And it's not based on military might or earthly power. It's founded on his own life, which he gives as a gift. The meal he shares with his friends becomes the founding document, the covenant, of this new reality, a communion designed to short-circuit the ultimate separation that death causes. Okay, now we're at the heart of it. The confrontation explodes into the final battle. The events from Thursday night all the way through Saturday, this isn't a tragedy. It's not a defeat. It's a deliberate, strategic duel with the enemy, fought in the deepest, darkest territory imaginable. So the battle plays out in 3 key stages. First, at the Last Supper, the king establishes the terms of his victory. Then, on the cross, on Good Friday, he goes head-to-head with the enemy, taking its full force. And finally, on Holy Saturday, he descends into Hades, taking the fight behind enemy lines to destroy death from the inside out. And this brings us to a really mind-blowing insight. See, in the early church, they didn't see the cross as the end of the story. They actually called Good Friday the Pascha of the cross. And Pascha means Passover. It means a passage. This wasn't a defeat, it was the start of the passage, from death over to life. It was the very moment the king began to turn the enemy's greatest weapon into the tool of his own victory. Just listen to how this ancient hymn describes the shockwave of what happened on Holy Saturday, when the king, who is life itself, steps into the realm of death. Well, the kingdom of death just can't handle it. It can't stand. Its foundations start to shake. The gates are smashed, not from the outside, but from within. And it's over. The battle is won. The enemy is crushed. Now we get to see the payoff, the victory of the king, and the incredible fulfillment of Daniel's ancient vision. This right here, this is the victory cry of Pascha, of Easter. How do you beat death? Well, you don't run from it. You don't avoid it. You walk right into it and blow it up from the inside. The king used his own death as the very weapon to trample down the power of death for everyone, for all time. And this is the grand finale of the whole cosmic drama. Christ's ascension into heaven isn't just him leaving, it's his coronation. Remember Daniel's vision, the Son of Man coming on the clouds to receive his kingdom? Well, guess what happens in the book of Acts? Jesus ascends to heaven on a cloud. Boom, the prophecy is fulfilled. The divine human king, having conquered death, takes his rightful throne at last. So you see, the cosmic drama of Holy Week isn't just some story from the past. It's the beginning of a whole new reality, a kingdom that has already started. So the question it leaves for all of us is this: if the ultimate enemy has been defeated, and if the true king is on the throne, how does that change the way we live our lives, right now, today?